going?
Right.
Oh, there it is. Live. This is the first time I've ever done this, guys. It's such an honor for you to be with me.
We're honored to be
I've got
here.
all the good info. I've got all the good info for y'all.
So I can't wait. I need the info.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really told anybody about this in particular. This is pre-show banter, by the way, for you one person who's logged on. Oh, two people who've logged on. And then we're going to record, or we are recording this, and then I'm going to post kind of a recap episode that's only going to be like 5 to 10 minutes. And there's also going to be a podcast version, unless you guys suck. Then
rude.
We'll
Very
rude.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Just pass it on. So is it 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock. So we're live right now. Is that correct? You've done this before, Amie. Okay. I haven't played this song in 2 years, and we haven't done an East Nashville Hour in over 1 year, 1.5 years. So we're gonna do the East Nashville Happy Hour theme song.
The theme song.
Ready? It's the perfect way to end an imperfect week. It's East Nashville Happy Hour with our very special guests, Amie, Miriello, and Aftyn, Behn. And it's the perfect way to end an imperfect week. Yeah, it's East Nashville Happy Hour.
Woo! All right.
You know, we started this as a live stream on Facebook Live in 2016, as Aftyn just pointed out to me. See my little.
Oh wow!
Our politically charged East Nashville Happy Hour. I decided to wear a little American flag, but we started off as a live stream with Sadler Baden, the lead guitar player from Jason Isbell's band, and it was fun, but it went on and on and on. So even though you guys are so amazingly exciting, we're going to try to, keep things going, keep things moving, keep the information rich and plentiful. First things first, Amie, Miriello. Everybody say hi to Amie, Miriello, and let me see if I can do this. Boom. There's Amie, Miriello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Looking my best.
Well, you just came from a.
No. I didn't feel compelled to shower today.
Oh.
Because why? Why would I shower today?
I haven't been showering, but I showered for you guys. I have a little cologne on.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I don't know if you like the Yves Saint Laurent.
I have deodorant. I washed my face and I put some makeup on, but I did not wash my body. But we ran out of deodorant recently, and the only place right now that I kind of trust is Turnip Truck because there's gloves and hand sanitizer as you walk in. So but I'm not really a natural deodorant kind of chick. So I bought some natural deodorant, and now I just smell like natural BO.
Oh. What's more natural?
It did nothing. It did absolutely nothing. It really was like mixed, it didn't, no.
What's more natural than BO, by the way?
Exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
Amie, you're a wonderful singer, songwriter. You're a solo artist. You're also one half of the, I call the All Americana duo, Boys Club for Girls.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you're a writer for Universal. What else should people know about you?
I don't know. I was doing a podcast called Sex in the Music City that's been put to a halt right now.
You gotta bring it back.
I will continue that as well. But yeah, I'm just like a musician hustler. I'm a fucking hustler because you have to do 50 things to be able to pay your rent these days. So that's what I do.
Well, you do all 50 really, really well.
Yeah. Thank you.
And our second equally and just as important guest Aftyn Behn and that's how you pronounce your name, right? Aftyn?
Yes, thank you. You hit all the syllables. Thank you.
Behn Behn. Now, if somebody was looking at the names of this, no offense to Amie, but if someone was just looking at the names and they knew that one was a political activist and the other was essentially a rock and roll star. I mean, Amie Miriello is a really nice name, but Aftyn Behn sounds like fucking rock star.
That's rock and roll.
It's very German. So
it's a little German. You're pretty German?
My name is German, so that means I guess I mean a lot of business, like taking care of business.
Yeah, totally. Germans are like authoritative.
Yes, they are.
They killed my people.
Well, okay. Well, that's for another time. That's for another happy hour.
And we might have, millions of people dead because of a Hitler-like figure in our political landscape too. Oh my God, did I say that out loud? Sorry, whoever's watching this in the future. But Aftyn, you would the first item of business be that Indivisible is the organization that you represent? Is that the first thing we should mention about you?
Yeah, I'm an activist, a political operative in Tennessee and Kentucky. But I work for an organization that builds progressive power in the state, and so I have my eyes from the local to the federal level, and I'm on here because I want to talk about what's happening with COVID-19 and for musicians and small business owners, and particularly with the stimulus package being passed today.
Yes.
Hours ago.
That's so exciting.
It's exciting, although I'm guessing that Aftyn might have some reservations about it as well. I see Scotty Schultz is on here. Hi, Scotty. Thanks for being with us live on our maiden voyage of this new version of East Nashville Happy Hour. Aftyn and Amie and myself, we first, it seems like it was 3 years ago, but it was 3 weeks ago that we did a Bernie Fest concert for the Revolution, where Amie was one of the wonderful singers, and she sang backup, and Aftyn was there, and she introduced a bunch of wonderful, I don't know, political figures around the community. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I don't know. I didn't bone up on my adjectives for this show. Also, what are we drinking?
Cheers. Is that red wine?
It's Malbec. What are you drinking, Dean?
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Malbec?
Mm-hmm.
This is Malbec. I wanted to be more sophisticated because we're not going to be, just getting wasted on Tito's like I used to do. I would just be a total, lush, and by 15 minutes into the show, I wouldn't know what was going on. But that made for kind of a fun-ish show. But very, very sophisticated and subdued Malbec. Now, if Aftyn starts telling us some things that I don't like to hear, then of course we're gonna open that right up. But
I wanted to say something about the Bernie show that y'all were part of. It was one of the best musical productions I have ever seen in Nashville. I mean, it was incredible. The vocals and Dean, you were, and the energy. It was one of the best shows. And to walk away at 11:30 and the next day the building being destroyed, it was surreal. So surreal.
Fucking crazy that we were all there, because I feel the same. I mean, there's so many like theme nights here in Nashville. It's become a little bit oversaturated for my particular taste, and I just felt like it had such a great energy, and all the musicians really we put a lot of work into it, and it felt so good. And I remember we were out on the porch afterwards, and we were all kind of drinking and smoking cigs, and we were all just felt so good. We were we did something good, and we brought more attention to Bernie, and all the songs went well. And then within 45 minutes, the place was fucking demolished. And it's crazy because we could have if we had started the show later, think about it. I mean,
absolutely. And there were so many great ideas to keep the show going, but it was a Monday night, so we wanted to keep it kind of short. Yeah. We totally could have gone at least a half hour more, especially if it was a Friday or a Saturday. And, maybe all the performers would have been gone, but who knows what the folks who were still closing up would have been doing, and maybe they wouldn't have been in the same spot to be able to get down to the basement and be safe.
And if you're on stage, you're not hearing any warnings. Like, you're not checking your phone for weather reports. And it wasn't like we got a weather report that said, no, seriously, guys, everybody stay home. It was kind of like this, it could get a little crazy. There was really no warning. As far as I was concerned, I didn't hear anything.
What time did y'all leave?
What?
What time did y'all leave?
I think I left at like 11:45 or something.
We probably left 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Because my mom was visiting and I needed to take her through to a drive-through. So we finally got the one that was open, which was Wendy's. And then we got back to her hotel, which was right behind Basement East. So whatever amount of time that would have taken, maybe a half hour to 45 minutes. But
we went to Dino's because we were all starving. And typically I would have gone to Three Crow because I would have wanted to like drink and hang out. And a bunch of our friends actually did go to Three Crow and they were like hiding under tables and shit. Nice. But we went to Dino's, had a quick meal. And as we were leaving Dino's, it was starting to happen. And we'd gotten an Uber and we ran inside the house and started like hiding. It was so scary, but it was definitely the difference between the high of feeling like we did something so cool and then the world ending, it was very intense.
Aftyn, were you able to get home in plenty of time?
I mean, we walked home at I think 11:30 back to Five Points, where the house is, and I just remember turning to my boyfriend and saying, I was like, everything's so eerie and quiet.
Yeah.
So weird to you?
Yeah.
And it was within the hour, and we went to Attaboy at around 8:30, and our bartender was the one that passed away. So it's like everything is just really surreal, and then to go from that to this pandemic, and it's just like Nashville's just been. It's been a lot for folks. So you are more entitled to your drink, okay?
Yeah, exactly. We all feel fine about drinking. It's been a lot. I mean, it's been a lot. Obviously, it's been a lot for the entire world. But to go from like having our actual neighborhood where we all physically live, like it's not like we live in the outskirts. We all live exactly where it happened. So it's just it's too close to home. And then now to be kind of trapped and in perpetual fear of what the fuck the future holds is extremely stressful.
Aftyn, you mentioned that you had spoken with some folks at Indivisible about the stimulus bill that went through. Just on a very surface level, tell us what.
Well, our policy team. So one, I work for Indivisible, but I can't speak on behalf of them. But our policy team are, they're people that I'm like, hey, I'm speaking to a bunch of scuba divers in Dade County. Can you get me the policy points on the stimulus? Like, they just love it. So I was like, well, there's national musicians who are curious to hear how this is going to affect them.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of great info. I think more broadly, one in the realm of politics, this pandemic will change politics in the United States forever. So, for example, you see states, and I promise I won't get in the weeds, but you'll see states delaying primaries. Our primary is August 6th. You might see that delayed. You might see the conventions where the candidates are chosen, except the RNC said they're still going to hold there, so stay tuned.
When you say our
Tennessee's primary. No, Tennessee's primary.
Tennessee's primary.
So you had our presidential primary, and then in August 6th, we have our federal and state primaries. So we have a Senate race with a bunch of people running for Senate. And so in August 6th, we'll be choosing that person who will then run in the general. So August 6th. So that might be a time where things change. The other thing that's really exciting in the realm of voting and politics, before I start talking about the stimulus package, is Tennessee is ground zero for the worst voter suppression you could possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Our Secretary of State wanted to criminalize voter registration because of all of the African Americans that were registered in 2018. So what's really exciting is that, poor choice of words, things are going to get a lot worse with the pandemic. Some of the positive consequences might be in the realm of voting. So we might see universal mail-in ballots, for example. So you won't have to go to the polls. You don't have to stop everything you're doing, go to the polls because of the pandemic. So with regards to the stimulus package, so
there's something in there that is going to help that a little bit, right?
yes. So so broadly speaking, basically we have this progressive House of Representatives, your AOC, your Ilhan Omar, your Rashida Tlaib, your badass female progressives that are like pushing the most progressive bill. And the Senate, led by McConnell, my all-time nemesis.
Viewers.
Yeah, my all-time. I dream at night about just like taking him out, like.
Viewers.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
Like in a political way. So anyway, so the Senate wrote this terrible bill, kicked off a bunch of people off of health insurance. It was a slush fund for corporations. And the House came up with this really progressive bill to help American workers, musicians, small business owners, like all of you in this call. And so they went to conference, they figured out what they were willing to concede on, and what we have is the following. So I can send this out as a more broad, but I want to tell y'all what's in for you. So if you are an adult and you make under around $71,000, you will get a one-time payment of $1,200.
Can I interrupt? I'm going to interrupt you just real quick. Amie, can you hear Aftyn pretty well?
Yeah.
Can you hear some feedback at all? I was hearing some feedback.
Teeny bit, but nothing that makes it that I can hear everything she's saying.
And I'll say hi, in addition to Scotty, I'll say hi to Sam Taylor, and I'll say hi to Gigi. Let us know if you guys are having trouble hearing, because the folks who are going to be listening to this later, the recorded.
Are we supposed to? I can't see any whoever's logging in or talking or anything. Are we?
I don't think so. I think it's just me for now.
Okay.
But I'll let you know. We've got a Schultz, who I'm buddies with. We've got Sam Taylor. We've got Andrew Leahy. I've heard of that guy.
Oh, snap.
So I'm using something called StreamYard, and I guess they don't give you guys the option to see who's speaking. I will try.
Aftyn, though, so you were saying that there's like a one-time payment for. Is that like freelance?
Everyone that makes under around 70,000 will get a one-time payment of $1,200. If you have a child under the age of 16, you can add a one-time payment of $500. So myself, who is employed, would get that payment. Now, for people who are unemployed, and I think this applies to a lot of musicians, and if you're hearing background noise, maybe if you mute yourself, I want to. Amie, maybe, yeah, let's try that. Yeah, I can't hear any background from that. So that's great. Okay. So if you have a child under 16, you will also get an additional payment of $500. So this is where, if you are unemployed, so say you're a musician, you have either a small business, which I'll talk a little bit about how the stimulus package is going to help small businesses. But if you're a self-employed musician in Nashville, you are going to be eligible for a lot of unemployment benefits in addition to the $1,200 stipend that you're eligible to get. Now, what's going to be dependent upon is the state of Tennessee. So the state has a lot of oversight in how this money is being spent. Tennessee is getting about $2 to $3 billion from the stimulus package. That was, I think, over $2 trillion. You're going to see a lot of relief for small and large businesses, and you're going to see a direct boost to current state unemployment amounts. So heading into the self-employed workers, and once again, and we can take each other off mute, but I want to make sure I get all this information. So self-employed workers would be eligible for an additional $600 weekly provided by the federal government. Okay, so you're looking at, if you're a musician, you get a one-time payment of $1,200, but you're also eligible for a $600 weekly benefit if you are unemployed. Okay, this lasts for about 6 months. So the extra $600 payment would last, for up to 4 months, covering the weeks of employment ending until July 31st. Okay. Any questions about
the 1,200 is only a one-time deal.
Yeah, and that's for everyone making under 70,000. But if you are unemployed, you will be eligible for a lot more benefits. Okay, so on top of whatever Tennessee's unemployment cap is, the federal government is going to subsidize. It's going to be much heftier than that. So it depends on what taxes you filed in. If you haven't filed your taxes for 2019, because that's postponed, it's dependent upon what you filed in 2018.
Right.
Does that make? I know it's a lot. It's a lot.
So that makes sense. My brother was telling me a little bit about it today because he runs a catering company in Portland, Oregon, and he had to fire basically his whole staff, and then he got fired, and he's got a pregnant wife and blah blah blah. So he was really really stressed out. But he said that because he's one of those people, we always make fun of him, that will sit on the phone for 4 hours on hold if it means that he's going to figure out money or insurance or any, like, I have no patience for that kind of shit. He called me today and he was like, because I'm employed as I'm a freelance musician, but probably 5 to 6 months out of the year I'm on tour. So he was saying that I could probably file and get something, and that I should look into it. I don't even know how to go about looking into it.
But one of the things is now you don't have to. The people who are part of the gig economy, and I guess that means musicians, that usually we wouldn't be able to file for unemployment, but now we can.
Yeah. But do you guys know how to even go about, like,
I think you're going to have some kind of new specific instructions to be able to.
You'll file. You look at the Tennessee Department. I don't know what the vocational department is, but there'll be extra resources, and you'll see that through the Tennessee website. So the federal government websites can be very daunting. So as soon as this is passed, it's going to take probably 2 weeks for a lot of this federal funding to come through the state. So you'll check the Tennessee website, and I can pass that along to y'all as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I think a lot of musicians that I know personally just don't really know how to go about getting any, like what's the first step that you even take to collect unemployment? I've never done it.
Right. I did a long time ago in California, but I would imagine that we'll be getting some instructions now that it's actually been passed. But it was only passed a few hours ago. So
has Trump signed it?
Yes, he just signed it. Yep.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yep.
He was excited to do it. I just very quickly, Aftyn, and for those of you who aren't necessarily as left-leaning as perhaps the three of us are, I am super open to any and all viewpoints. But I would say I'm pretty left. I think Amie is pretty darn left.
100% fucking left.
Real darn left, right? Wouldn't that be?
And I'm not one of those musicians who cares about ostracizing fans. Like, if you're, I'm not. I just don't care if you voted for Trump, or if you still would vote for Trump, or if you're right leaning at all. I don't mind offending you to the point where you don't want to follow me anymore, personally, right. Because I don't care. I have a lot of musician friends who do keep it very ambiguous because they want to make sure to maintain all of their fans. I'm not one of those people, so I don't really care about offending anyone.
I think it's fine to not want to immediately, proactively ostracise folks, and so but I did want to kind of restart East Nashville Happy Hour with a little bit of a different. We've got our former co-hosts Andrew Leahy and Jay Dumachowski on now, and they're not really former, but because of the circumstances, it's just me right now. But
yes,
I have plans for all of you guys. I have plans for Amie's fiance Nick, who just came in with Tito back there.
That's good.
I got lots of plans, but for now we're doing this anyway. I did want East Nashville Happy Hour to have a little bit of a different focus, to kind of just hear everybody's viewpoints, but I just want to go on a journey of trying to figure out how we can do the most good for the most amount of people without totally being against one another. So
Yeah.
I think the problem is a lot of the right has co-opted, like, especially the Republican Party in Tennessee, it's a lot of like, we're pro small businesses, we're pro workers, and they're really not. They have passed some of the worst legislation preventing people to have a living wage, preventing folks to have a standard of living that doesn't require them to work 4 to 5 jobs. And unfortunately, the left hasn't really been able to take a lot of that messaging back. And in the stimulus bill at the federal level, the Republicans wanted a slush fund for major corporations and billionaires. And it was Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren on the Senate floor berating and censuring the Senate Republicans, saying, how dare you not come to the helm of the American worker, who's a hero. I mean, we're seeing a change from, and I think especially with, as a rural organizer in Tennessee and Kentucky, like this idea that Trump is this like hero and like he's coming to save American workers. And it's like, no, the hero is the cashier at Kroger. The hero is our nurses who are on the front lines of this pandemic, fighting, fearful that they're not going to be able to pay their rent. I mean, these are the American heroes. And I think like the more and more we talk about in terms of and workers and class and and worker solidarity, the more I think profound the left can be in kind of changing the messaging game.
Especially the nurses and especially the medical staff of these hospitals who, in our part of the country, Nashville, Tennessee, they're just now starting to realize how bad it's going to get. I've spoken with one friend who is in the pharmaceutical side of things, but she's frontline, and not frontline, but she knows what's going on. And, she's going to enjoy this weekend because it's the calm before the storm. And I saw something last night on CNN, the sister of a nurse who died, and it just put everything in perspective in terms of who is really going to save this country. And what do you guys make of, I'll ask Amie actually first, what do you make of Trump saying, hey, let's go ahead
Easter?
and what's that? Yeah, well, Easter, and then also, and not just Trump, it's the notion that, hey, we do have a country here that we need to think about, and let's ask folks what they really believe. If they want the American
just because talking of the economy?
Well, essentially, Grandma, you understand, right? You're going to have to sacrifice your life.
Yeah.
The money.
That's that's just completely insane. That's completely insane. Those are crazy words.
It just doesn't make sense.
It comes back to greed, like everything else does with him. It's his whole plight is, look at the economy, look how much money we're making, look how good it is. That's the only thing he has. And so now that that's not an option, he literally has nothing else. And so he's fucking terrified, because when the only silver lining I can think of that might come from this is that even the people that until now thought that he might not be the worst president possible, even them at this point, with the numbers and with the obviousness that a lot of this could have been preventable, and thousands of deaths could have been, if he took it more seriously, could have been prevented. At least a silver lining might be that the people that thought he was okay don't anymore. I'm hoping that even the really, really, and sorry, but really fucking dumb people at this point will at least come to think, you know what, maybe this president is the worst case scenario to lead us through something like this.
Right. And
well, his favorability rating is over 70%. So.
What the hell?
I think that's gonna taper off. So once we get to 10,000,
once people start dying in mass, especially in these Republican states, things will change. But his favorability rating is 70%.
Because people just want someone to show them some kind of pathway forward.
People just want, they want to hear what they want to hear, and they want to hear that they're going to go back to work next week, and that's just not feasible. You know, it's the stuff that's coming back from. How do you make it so that you can't get texts and stuff during this?
Yeah, I know that
you guys know how
doing that, and I can't. We've got.
It's my nephew's birthday, so I'm getting 300 pictures of the fucking cake.
Oh.
Because he's 5, so it's like I'm getting so many family texts, and I don't know how to do that.
Oh, you want to? Wait, what do you mean?
How do I stop getting texts without stop that? Because if I put airplane mode, do you guys know?
I definitely can't help you.
Okay.
Now I understand.
I figured.
I'm like
85 years old with a phone.
You can't see them. Just kidding.
No, I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I heard about him wanting to open by Easter, and I think the majority of people think that's a good idea. And I think that's because people are still not grasping the seriousness of what's going on.
It's about to get a lot worse, and I can say this because I'm privy to a lot of conversations in the political sphere of people responding, and it's about to get a hell of a lot worse in Tennessee, especially since our Republican governor said we could just pray it away. We can pray this away. So he's and if you look at, and I challenge all of y'all, the state of Kentucky who flipped their gubernatorial, once again, my mind is always in politics, electoral space. The state of Kentucky flipped their gubernatorial seat for a Democrat, and when you look at the response and the number of people who have been tested and people who have recovered, the state of Tennessee versus Kentucky, it is literally a death sentence if you live in Tennessee. Like it is.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
And it's
we've been living that way. We've been quarantined for, personally, I'm on day 16.
Wow. Why?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Because my brother works at Vice News, and he called me, like, he actually left. He actually works at Apple now, but he's in media and politics, and he called my family, and he was like, I feel like we should all be staying home, because we were already hearing a bunch of stuff, and I'd canceled a few shows. So it would be the Wednesday. I started canceling shows when? The 13th or something? The 12th?
Something like that, yeah.
So what's today? I don't know.
The 27th.
Yeah, so what is that? I don't even.
I know that I 2 weeks ago yesterday, so I'm on that.
Yeah, so you were playing in the shows that I canceled, Dean. And so it's been over 2 weeks that we've been quarantined because my brother called and was like, you should not go out. You should just not leave the house.
Now, I've heard that there's a difference between self-quarantine and self-isolation. I think the self-quarantine.
I still walk my dog.
Okay.
We still go to the grocery store when we absolutely have to.
So you haven't been
we don't do anything else.
You haven't been doing the pickup. You actually physically walk into the grocery store.
To Turnip Truck, we've gone like once a week. We go to Turnip Truck, but we've ordered things, and then I wipe everything down when I get in the house. But we haven't seen anybody. Like, remember I walked Tito over to your house, and we talked from 10 feet away.
That's the most contact I've had with anyone.
The most contact, yeah, because I'm just terrified. I'm like a naturally really anxious person. So when I hear about stuff like this, I take it really seriously. And a lot of my friends haven't. Like, a lot of my friends are not taking it seriously.
Jay Dumachowski says he was at Kroger today. Well, you're a brave soul, Jay. I've never done this before, so I'm trying to look at the messages coming through. I apologize to everyone who is. I'm sure you're asking wonderful questions, and
Yeah, I would challenge everyone who, yes, it doesn't feel catastrophic at this moment in time, but it will get a lot worse. And if you look at New York, which is the epicenter right now, I mean, Italy just saw 1,000 deaths today, right? And they are in their second or third month. We are only in week 3. And so I think the apex is probably going to be at the end of April, May. And I think, politically, as a political organizer, I'm trying to figure out, one, how to provide mutual aid, and how to be a trusted resource when it comes to mutual aid across the state. But 2, like, how do we improve, how do we capitalize on federal reforms such as mail-in ballots? Like, when we have a terrible, the Republicans in the state are some of the shadiest diabolical villains you could possibly imagine. Like, they're just like written out of a Disney book, right? And I challenge all of you. I know, like, yes, we love Bernie. Yes, we're more in tune to federal Congress, but like your state legislature, please watch what they're doing, because it's so much more impactful in your daily life. And they really think that this is like a Democratic hoax. Like, some of them think that.
Do you think they truly think that? Or is there
some of them, yes. Some of them, yes. And I think
insane.
I can't even, it's like talking to these folks about like abortion or like immigration, and they're like, well, I own a small pool business in Lauderdale, Tennessee. And I'm like, you shouldn't be making public policy. And especially, and this is the other problem, we only have 3 physicians in the state legislature. And they're not even like ER doctors, right? It's like an eye doctor. It's like, we don't even have healthcare professionals that can be talking about this comprehensively and literally in state government. And so, as things, and I challenge anyone who's listening in your networks, like, please tell people to abide by whatever Mayor Cooper is saying. And please be watching how your state officials respond to this, because as soon as people start dying, maybe their politics will change as their grandma dies. And, because I personally think grandmas are valuable, but the Republican Party doesn't. So
it doesn't seem so. I'm sorry, Amie. I had you on mute
It's okay. My Nana is in an old folks home right outside of Pennsylvania, outside of Philly. And she's been quarantined for a while, which is her natural state of being. I mean, I call her and she's like, I'm always quarantined. I'm like, I know, Nana, but like, it's real now. Like, no one can
Nana. Me too.
And she's a fucking legend. So yeah, but I feel like, honestly, it's like abortion. Everybody is pro-life until their daughter gets raped. And I think that the reason that I and people in my inner circle are taking this so seriously is because most of my friends are in New York and LA, and a lot of people I know are sick, and they're not just old people. They're fucking young people. I know tons of people in their 30s, my age, that are getting extremely, extremely sick, and they're not knowing what to do because we don't have the resources for how big this is. And in New York, a lot of my friends are getting very, very sick. And thank God in Tennessee, we have space. I can walk my dog and not be next to anyone. But in some of these places, if you leave your house, you are going to be next to someone. That's how a lot of cities work.
Can't imagine New York City when everybody's on top of one another.
It's so ridiculous. And a lot of my friends are stuck in their apartments alone, by themselves, and it's hard, but it's what we've got to do. I went for a run and saw a basketball team playing basketball today. A touch sport.
Everybody handling that same basketball. Luckily,
a touch sport. You're sweating on each other. You're touching the same. Like, it's obvious that Tennessee is not taking it very seriously.
I'm only good at watching sports, so luckily that's not something that I have to worry about.
You were made for pandemics.
Yeah,
This is
yeah. Made for this. The other thing I just wanted to say for a lot of y'all that own small businesses, because I had to take my dog to the vet, and the other person, he is a musician and he gives lessons, and so I just, like, for any of y'all giving lessons, for any of you that have like small businesses, there's going to be money for y'all, which is really exciting. So overall in the stimulus package, there was $370 billion for small businesses. Businesses with fewer than 500 employees are eligible for up to $10 million in loans.
Nation presents shows that uplift lives that inspire.
And the best part is that, obviously, what are loans when the interest rate's like 10, 15%? Cool.
Yeah.
Abolish student loans. I'm in that camp. But here's the thing. If you own a small business, you do not have to repay the portions that are spent on paying employees, mortgage, rent, or utilities. Okay? So that is a really important to note. So if you're applying, if you're a small business owner, you're applying for unemployment as well, like you can double up on those benefits as they come to Tennessee. I think that was important too.
How do they qualifies as a small business in that context? Like, am I a small business as a self-proprietor?
Self-employed and businesses with under 500 employees.
That's you, Dean. You've got under 500
That's
employees.
me. This is a nonprofit, or eventually it'll be a nonprofit, what the umbrella company. I want to, here. Well, first, let me ask this of Aftyn. We do have one question, and this kind of exemplifies, the notion of thinking, oh, hi, Robbie. Fuck you, too. This kind of exemplifies, wanting to hear all sides and keep everything kind of in perspective and trying to understand all options. So the question is, this virus is not going to be eradicated completely. And I would add until there's a,
cure, yeah.
There's a vaccine. But so is everyone going to stay in for the rest of their lives? So I think that kind of sounds like, well, we got to go out sometime, so we may as well go out sooner than later so that the economy can get back.
No.
What do you guys think of that?
I'm not an infectious disease specialist, but there is a point at which we will be able to go outside. We will never obviously eradicate it. There's going to be, bacteria resistance is a very real thing, especially in the time of climate change. I mean, we are going to be seeing corona iterations until the rest of our lifetime. But there is a point where they're able to combat it and keep it contained to the point where, either they will create a vaccine. But there could be carriers out there. I mean, we're never going to be able to eradicate. There will be a point when we will be able to go out in public, but that's the whole point right now is we have to stop the spread because we don't know how many people have it. We don't have enough tests and we don't have a vaccine. So unless any of those conditions improve, I mean, you are going to have to stay inside. And it's just, and what I think is also really interesting as someone who's traveled a lot, if you look at the graphs of countries that have been able to contain it, what's really interesting is it's the collectivist countries that, we are a very individualistic country, right? Like we think of us, not them, obviously if you're Bernie, us, not me, us. But countries like, Taiwan, China was able to get it under control. Vietnam, like a lot of these Eastern Civ countries have been able to stop the spread in a way that they're able to resume normal life, right? And so it will be there, but unfortunately, we just have really fucking self-centered people in this country that it doesn't apply to me. I'm fine. I'm young. And as Amie said, the number one demographic of people getting it in the state of Tennessee are people between the ages of 19 and I think 19 and 40. So.
God, I hate everyone.
Jay is the one who asked that. Our buddy Jay Dumitowski, who essentially is the co-host of East Nashville Happy Hour, and he says it wasn't sarcastic. Yeah, I guess he was. Let me read it again. This virus is not going to be eradicated completely, so is everyone going to stay in for the rest of their lives? Well, I could answer that, Jay, that not for the rest of our lives if we get a vaccine, and there's got to be a happy medium between getting back out there and getting the economy raring to go by Easter and having.
No, that's just dumb. The Easter thing is just dumb.
We need to have, the whole point is to give the healthcare system a chance to get all the equipment they need, be ready to fight the virus, because right now they're just not. They're just not going to be able to do that. The people, it's going to be like Italy, where if you're old, then you have to get a ventilator. That's what they're called. Can you guys still see me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. The biggest thing that I want to get at, and I want both of your opinions on this, is how I consider myself someone who is pretty darn engaged and connected, and I care a lot about this stuff, but I'm also not, I wouldn't ever call myself an activist, and I don't think I have the capacity to really be an activist right now. And I won't speak for Amie, but we're musicians and got a lot of different things going on. And I would just ask Aftyn what you would recommend to folks who are finding themselves caring more and more and more about what's going on around them. How do we do something? Should we have called into the House of Representatives, our Representative Cooper, and just said, please don't vote for this, or do vote for this? Is that the number one thing that we can do? Figures like Michael Moore suggest that's the thing we need to do, and he was against the bill even after it was tweaked. And I think wasn't AOC kind of against the bill too, because it was just too much, included too much corporate giveaway. The left was trying to throw things into the bill that didn't really have anything to do specifically with coronavirus, and then the right totally tried to get a bunch of corporate welfare stuff in there. I know I'm just babbling and not asking a specific question, but someone like myself, I would like to know what the most important thing I can do to make a difference, but in realistic terms. What should I do?
I think it can be like, I want to empathize that it can be very, very overwhelming. And for someone who lives and breathes activism and politics, I have my days where it just feels like I'm never going to be able to get to the top and take a breath. I think right now in this moment, if you are in Nashville, I think the one thing that you can do is ask our Democratic congressman to re-sign onto Medicare for All. I know a lot of musicians that don't have health care, or they have really expensive health care through the exchange. That is one thing that he has postured just these past few weeks, saying that he'd be interested in signing that bill. And it would be, it's something that's very tangible and close. I think on the federal level, I think all of you in your personal circles and your networks, as Dean and Amie said, that as musicians, like, oftentimes you don't want to alienate your audience by being too political. But I think in your own circles, if you can be talking politics at the kitchen table, that's the best way to radicalize people, is by telling your story and sharing your experience and getting people to vote. And that's why, like, I've just been so grateful to be part of your fun artisan network, because it's people that I'd never had access to. I have access to legislators. I have access to candidates. And so to be introduced to all of you as these like righteous musicians that like put on this amazing concert for this Democratic Socialist candidate was just like, it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And so I think talking to your networks, talking to your audience, and just telling your story about how you've been radicalized to vote, because in Tennessee we are not a Republican state. Yes we are, but because we're a non-voting state. I mean, you look at the people who didn't vote in 2016. It's about 75% of our population, and even young folks. So, and even young women voting in this state is abysmal. So I think whatever you can do in your small circles, and to talk to one person and maybe radicalize one person, like that's the best. I think that's the best way forward.
When you say radicalize, I think that might scare some people, though.
Okay, well, Well, it's funny because the idea of voting is very radical to some folks. Like, I meet a lot of apathetic teens. If someone could give me the silver bullet to how to make voting sexy to teens, like maybe I need to get on TikTok. I don't know what the key is, but talking to friends, right, but like connecting their life to voting. Like, why is that important? I think all of us who understand that trajectory and that line, a lot of people don't.
Right. Unfortunately, I think that right now, especially in Tennessee, this hasn't hit home for enough people. And unfortunately, it's going to. And I think that will be something that hopefully puts a fire under certain people's asses, because I find it hard to believe that anyone in the state is not going to know somebody that's affected by this. Sorry, there's something going on.
That's okay.
Recycling.
It's clearly more important than what we're doing. We're just talking about keeping, humanity alive, Nick and Tito. I do have, let's ask one more question here from our audience. Sam Taylor asked kind of oh, there he is. There's Mr. Tito.
Oh, he's so handsome.
He is a good-looking young man, I have to admit. Sam Taylor kind of asked a question that takes Jay's question further. I guess I'm trying to understand, Sam says, what is going to happen to those of us who work at places like retail stores? Is this where brick and mortar stores go to die? I think that's where some of the selfishness, quote unquote, comes into play, because there's not work to do at home and companies can't afford to pay their employees while making no money. So people are just desperate to go back to work. Where, I guess he's asking, where do we go from here? And in my opinion, sorry, Amie.
No, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Most of my friends, myself included, don't know when the next time they're going to be able to work. I get the selfish desire to, and it's not selfish. It's just, you want to go back to work because you want to be able to pay your rent and buy food and all that stuff. So I get what she's saying. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would defer to Aftyn to answer it, but I get that people are just terrified right now. People are not, they have no idea when the next time they'll be able to pay their employees, pay themselves, when these, when the government will actually, when these checks will actually come. I have friends that don't know how to pay rent right now, and they've been out of work for 2 weeks. So it's a terrifying time.
And the checks are going to come probably, later April, right? Or even May.
Yeah, I think the money will be dispersed within the next 2 weeks, but who knows how long. I don't know what overhead they're dealing with right now, and people being able to disseminate the information and reallocate the funds. So, I mean, we're probably looking at mid-April. I mean, once again, I don't want to. I'm a very radical person, but there's a call for a rent strike April 1st, and I think that. Landlords are, I think, not the greatest people, and they're still getting paid, and they still feel very entitled to funds where workers can't pay their rent. And so that is very real.
You guy, my buddy guy, who's my landlord, she does not mean you. You're the total exception.
No, you're the best. They're good. I have a great landlord, but I'm just saying that I think it could get to the point where we see mass strikes of solidarity when it comes to rent and student loans. And there are places where other countries in Europe that, they'll subsidize your rent 100 to 80%. In this country, we feel like it's a lot of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, individualistic. I would say to your friends working at retail stores that, the Senate bill included a large corporate bailout. So depending on what company your friends work for, that on that side they will be getting a bailout. The company in the stimulus package, they're incentivized to keep their employees. So if they're receiving stimulus money, they're incentivized to keep as many employees as they can. But the other, as I said, $1,200 is not that much for working folks, right? Especially the working folks that have kids. But unemployment benefits will be better. They'll be more robust. But at the end of the day, we need massive systemic reforms in this country that are for working people to ensure that no one has to work 3 jobs and over 70 hours a week to to make a living wage. Like we no.
And that's before this whole thing. It's like fuck. But yeah,
and that's kind of what
we got to notice. We live in an apartment complex, and we got to notice that we could pay online, and our $30 online fee would be waived. And we were like, "Wow, thank you so much." I wonder how many landlords are actually going to give people a break. I mean, to me, student loans at this point are a fucking joke. Like, thinking that anyone's going to pay a student loan right now is an absolute fucking joke. I don't know if that's being completely addressed. I know you talked a little bit about that.
No, I didn't. Yeah, so student loans. So I'm pretty sure that you can file, and you're gonna have to. It's not gonna do it automatically, which is also fucking stupid. But you can file for. So they've eliminated interest fees right now, and I don't know what the end point is, but you can apply to not pay your loans for, I think, until the fall. But you have to. They won't do it automatically. Which like we should abolish student debt in this country. Like
oh my god,
it's absolutely crazy. And I think Ilhan Omar, represented from Minnesota, and Ayanna Pressley, put forth a bill as part of the stimulus package that would eliminate $30,000 of debt for an individual student. So unfortunately, like with Bernie, where he's saying abolish it all, right? Like now we're having to see piecemeal legislation fighting for the systemic reforms that Bernie was fighting for, because we're not going to probably see that in our presidency. But just know that there's going to be, this is the third iteration. This is the third COVID bill. There's going to be more and more. There's going to be a fourth one. I'm hoping to get election reforms in the fourth one. But as things get, because once again, you know, New York and Washington are states that are seeing a high level of deaths. In the South right now, there's only been 6 deaths in Tennessee, but that is going to get a hell of a lot worse. And we're going to see more and more stimulus packages affecting the reality that we're living in.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask just really quick, and we can all kind of comment, but when somebody like Bernie says, you know, well, in Denmark, in Finland, you know, all these European countries, and there's essentially socialist countries, they do this and they do that. And to me, it sounds so great, but it just seems like a pipe dream. And I guess growing up in the Midwest, I was just exposed to thinking that is so opposite of, you know, the kind of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps kind of thing. And what would you say to people who just, that's not the American way? Like
I think Aftyn was saying earlier, like, Americans think voting is radical. For like, everything in this country is fucking radical. Like, everything Bernie says is really not that radical. He's literally just talking about basic human rights. And like, for some reason, we've been conditioned in this country that we're exempt from that. I don't know why, and I don't know when it started, but none of this seems radical at all. It should be very, very doable to have Medicare for all. It should be very doable to not be drowning in student debts. This is not that crazy. The government literally can make money. Like, it's insane to think that we have to be drowning. We're not. We're drowning for a reason. It's because these fucking greedy motherfuckers want to keep things the way that they are. And there's no reason for it. It's completely insane.
Well, unless we decide that as a country, that's what we want. And that's why I want to try, and I'm very clumsily coming up with these questions on the spot, but I just want to think about how we can constructively, proactively talk to people about what kind of country we want. And I think Elizabeth Warren and Bernie and a bunch of other candidates kind of started off their campaigns saying, you know, it's really about what kind of country we want to be. And I know that I think America should be, I would hope that this catastrophe is going to, and it's a cliche, but I hope that people will come out of this thinking, yeah, we are kind of all this we are all kind of in this together.
Yeah.
And it's better to make a lot of money but help a lot of people than it is to make an obscene, crazy amount of money and not bother with helping anybody except for, just, well, of course I write a check every September to this particular, that's kind of where we are now. That's just.
Well, there's so much misinformation. I mean, it's just insane. Like, I'll post a picture of us, at a Bernie rally, and I'll get comments, tons of comments from people saying, you won't be smiling when he takes 75% of your paycheck. I'm like, where are you getting this information? Like, where is that a fact? And I think people are under these false pretenses. Like, I really think that people have no idea what's real anymore. Nobody knows what's real because there's so much misinformation.
I also wanted to say that, like, I was very depressed the week of Super Tuesday. And as someone who is in politics and pushes people further left as part of my job and just part of my, my agenda for life, it is very hard for most Americans, most Tennesseans, to envision a world that looks like Bernie's world and the world that we want. And we have a very uneducated populace. We have a populace that has only 30% of Americans have ever traveled to another country. And so when I'm explaining to even Democrats in the state of Tennessee, like, imagine a world where everyone had universal health care coverage, and they're calling for Medicaid expansion, which only benefits 300,000 people. You have families crippled with medical debt, and you're calling for health insurance for 300,000 people. And I think it's just as political people, like, it is our goal to be visionaries in the world that we want to see and the world and the systems that we want to build. And I would challenge anyone who is disheartened by, not seeing the results in the primaries, which that's a whole other thing, that we have a lot of work to do in this country. And I'm grateful to share space with the two of you and all the people who voted for Bernie, because that world is possible. And we've got to keep working, because it's very hard for most Americans to envision a world that doesn't have student debt, because that's all we know.
Yeah.
That's how the people in charge kind of want it. They just want us to be ignorant. And I think it's different than people being dumb. I think it's just culturally we have been led to be ignorant. Like, there's just no way around being literally ignorant, not having the facts, not being in surroundings that would suggest that we would want those facts, and just let somebody else deal with all those hard questions, and we'll just kind of deal with what we do in our lives on a daily basis. We're at 1 hour now, so I had all these ideas about bringing music in. Amy's
who cares? No.
Amy's got an awesome song called Vinyl Tap that
I don't give a shit.
It's was like, named after.
Yeah, I have lots of songs, but I feel like right now it's just more important to talk about this stuff. And I just wanted to thank you, Aftyn, for being so informative. I feel like everybody needs. My fiance is extremely just politically active, and he's gotten me more active, and he's gotten me more informed. So I think just having more people around like you guys to, like, let us know in English. Because a lot of times I feel like when people describe things, a normal person like me, I just don't understand what they're talking about, And so I think it's really important for people like you that are activists to speak the way you do in terms that can be understandable for the general public, and musicians who, we know what we feel strongly about. We don't know really what to do about it. And, it's just important to have these conversations and have a point person like you, who now I'm probably going to text and ask random questions to all the time.
I'm really good. The reason that Bernie show is good is because I know who to put together in certain, you guys are best friends. I know it.
Yeah, please. I mean, I love any protest or anything that goes on in the state of Tennessee. I have probably my hand in it. Please, and if there's ever, I'd love to get some musicians to the legislature so y'all can, provide testimony. I would love for. We're going to have a competitive congressional primary that I need help with. So I would say follow me on Twitter. That's where I post a lot of stuff about politics in Tennessee and Kentucky. And I would love to plug y'all in because we're living through it. You're living through it.
It's real. It's fucking real.
I worry that some of this might be boring for people who aren't as engaged, but I'm just going to ask anyway. And if you guys have the time, I don't want to keep you for much longer.
Yeah, I've got a few more minutes.
Yeah, okay. There's a couple more minutes.
Mitch McConnell, as Aftyn mentioned earlier, I would say is a bigger threat than Donald Trump or anybody else. He's number one in American history. He is a senator from Kentucky. We border Kentucky, and Aftyn represents Indivisible, and she works in Tennessee and Kentucky, right? What can we do to end Mitch McConnell's political career? And I'm thinking, I've had ideas about, well, let's get a band together of people from every sex, every orientation, every race, and a music band, and just set up on the sidewalk in front of his office and start playing until we get shut down or arrested or both. Do
we just play his least favorite songs? Like, what do we do?
He doesn't like music. He doesn't like anything. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could be so detrimental to humanity. So that would be one question. And since you're a representative of Kentucky and Tennessee, what do we do? I just feel like we're bordering that state. There's something that we can do more than someone who's in Idaho or California or New York.
Well, I would. So I work with groups that are political across the state. I understand everyone wants to get rid of Mitch McConnell, but in Tennessee, we really need to get out of the super minority in our state legislature. I know that's not it. So I will talk about McConnell, but more importantly, in Tennessee, our congressional districts are some of the most gerrymandered in the country. And the only way that we can get fair maps is by getting out of the super minority in the state legislature. And we have a chance to do that in 2020 by flipping 5 to 6 state house seats that are really competitive across the state. I'm more than happy to plug people in. Those are in Knoxville, Memphis, Chattanooga. But that's the only way we can have fair congressional. So if we want more Democrats in Congress from Tennessee, we need fairer maps. So that's my first pitch. If you're interested in doing any political work, McConnell is a whole other ballgame. So one is that McConnell, this is the first time he has run. His race has been in a presidential year in a long time. So it means that Trump is at the top of the ticket, who's wildly popular in Kentucky, and McConnell's second. What's really exciting is that the gubernatorial race in Kentucky in 2019, you had a lot of ticket splitters. So Republicans who voted, who didn't vote for the Republican nominee, but voted for all Republicans down ballot. And it's the same exact, it mirrors what we need to get rid of McConnell in 2020. Right now there's a primary. So the Democrats we're trying to determine which Democrat is going to run against McConnell. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard about Amie McGrath, but most Kentuckians do not like her. They do not think she can win. She lost every single county in her congressional district when she ran in 2018. So I hope
who we know, and why is she? I just assumed it was
because she was anointed by Chuck Schumer and the DSCC, these big establishment institutions that Bernie, the AOC hate because they pick and choose candidates that are antithetical to the grassroots. So she has all the money and all the name recognition. But right now there's a great primary between two really progressive candidates, Mike Breuer, who's a rural farmer, and Charles Booker, who's a legislator from Louisville. Charles Booker he grew up in Louisville. He didn't have access to insulin, so he almost died. I mean, we're talking very real stories of Kentuckians that are dying because of Mitch McConnell and his policies. The way to defeat him is just highlight what has he done for the state of Kentucky? What has he done for the state of Kentucky in the past 3 decades? I think if you want to get involved in the Kentucky Senate race, please hit me up. I think post-pandemic, once again, anyone who's doing voter contact right now, we are having to transform how we do voter contact because no one is going to open a door and talk to someone during a pandemic. So, but once this is all over,
Bernie Sanders at my doorway, I would kiss him through the glass. I would not open the door.
Obviously. But so right now, I would just wait till after the primary is over, which is June 23rd. And then, depending on where the pandemic is, we can rent a house and we can go up and play some music. I know a bunch of musicians, bluegrass musicians all across Kentucky that would love to meet y'all. We can get a caravan up there and maybe hold a benefit concert. That'd be fun.
Let's do it.
Super, super fun. I guess in the short term, the way that people can do this is to just contact Aftyn Behn.
Yeah,
that's
the end of this. Yeah, whoever was watching this is now going to contact you. So I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'm great.
That's the job, right? That's your deal.
That is my job.
So on Twitter, is it just Aftyn Behn?
Yeah, it's my first and last name, and I talk a lot about Tennessee politics and leftist politics in the state. And reach out, and we'll get you plugged in. But yeah, I think a musical caravan to Kentucky and Louisville and Mrs. Backyard would be the best.
And it's AF as in Frank, TYN, B as in boy, EHN.
Yep, that's right.
Amie, how can people contact you to solve the world's problems?
What, to answer stupid trivia questions?
Maybe.
No.
It's just as important. We've got to stay sane. We've got to stay entertained. And
I know.
Than you?
It's just Amie Miriello on all the things. It's Instagram and Facebook. AMIE MIRIELLO.
That's right. And okay, this is what the guessing game was going to be. Each of you think in your head, even if you don't have one, think in your head who your favorite music artist is.
Okay.
Got it? Aftyn, what do you think? You got it in your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, I didn't mute you, did
Yeah,
I?
I muted myself. Yeah, I got it.
Right. Now you guys, just 20 questions. And whoever figures out the other's favorite artist.
Okay. Amie, is yours from Tennessee?
Is mine what?
Is yours from Tennessee?
No.
Okay, your turn.
Is yours a solo artist or a band?
Solo. Oh, solo. Yeah.
Solo.
Good questions.
Is your country music? Is your country music stuff?
Mine's not country. I don't really listen to a lot of country. Mine is more like weird alternative.
Okay.
Does yours have actual hits?
Yes.
Can I keep going? Oh, go on.
Yeah. Is it vintage? Is it 60s or 70s?
No. Is yours a woman or a man?
Woman. Is yours a woman or a man?
They're men.
Whoa, I was thinking of somebody else.
Okay,
you were thinking Tori Amos or Ani DeFranco, right?
Somewhere along those lines, yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah. No, I picked a band just because it was spur of the moment. I picked my favorite band. Okay, is yours? So yours is a woman. She's got hits. Is she older than us? Is she not? Is she older than in her 30s?
Yes. Is your band bluegrass? I'm almost done. Is your band bluegrass? No. Okay.
No. Is yours Dolly Parton?
No, but that was my second. No, it's not. Are they currently on tour or have been on tour the past few years?
I feel like they're always on tour, but they're like super mysterious and probably assholes. God damn it. Okay, is yours? So yours is country.
No.
Oh.
No, not country. R&B.
R&B. It's a female. She's older than us. R&B. What is she, Mary J. Blige?
No. Help me out. They're assholes. Okay.
They're probably assholes. I mean,
have they played at Bonnaroo?
They have played at Bonnaroo for sure.
Oh, good question.
Okay, yours is older. It's R&B. Babe, what do you think?
Can I ask one?
Yeah.
Is she alive?
Yes.
Is it Erykah Badu or Lauryn Hill?
Yes, Lauryn Hill.
Hey.
Nick got it.
Okay. Dean, help me out. You get to call a friend. I'm calling a friend.
Well, I can't because I've known Amie for a long time. I think I know.
God damn it.
I will give you a hint.
Okay.
They are British, and the lead singer has a wonky eye.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, it's her favorite band. My boyfriend's. I'm trying to phone a friend. Phone my boyfriend. God damn it. What type of
music is super depressing and weird?
But famous.
Radiohead.
There you go.
Yes.
You guys were so.
I cheated. My boyfriend helped me.
My fiance helped me too. He was like, Lauryn Hill. I'm like, Lauryn Hill?
And Amie. I think we might have lost that. Did we lose Aftyn?
No, we lost
Amie.
Well, I guess it's a wrap.
We lost a lot of people. We might have lost everybody.
I think it's a wrap.
Hello? I don't even know if you can hear me right now, but that was wonderful and that was well timed. And can anybody hear me in the chat? Is Jay still with us? Is Andrew still with us? What do? Do they cut us off? That's funny. If they cut us off after a certain time and we just got. Sam can still hear me? Okay. Well, I guess we lost our guests. And I don't know. Guess I'll just jam. It's the I've had a lot of wine and Tito's. Hi, Andrew. And everybody who's been hanging out, thank you so much. I don't know why we lost our guests and I'm still here, but we'll do this more and it'll be much smoother and I'll probably be less drunk because I haven't eaten all day. But this was really informative for me and I hope that it helped a little bit. And I'm going to post kind of a recap episode in the next day or so. And I'm also going to make it a podcast. Why not? Why not? So thanks for hanging out. And we'll just make this better and better and better as we go. And it's going to be a little bit more fun. Thanks, Sam. I'm happy that you feel that way. I can't even see myself. My camera went dead. So apparently you can see me. So this is going to get a lot better, but this was fun. And it was good to talk to someone who can give us some information that I hope we can use. The background is great. Oh man, if you saw it, there's some serious black gorilla duct tape stuff keeping it all together. How do you like that amp, Jay? I just saw it. I don't know. Yeah, I love it. Okay. Let's get on a text, Jay and Andrew, my co-hosts. I'm going to end the broadcast now. Hey, thanks everybody for hanging. And we'll keep making this a little bit more pro. But Jay, I think we're going to be here for a little bit longer, but not forever. I think that's my answer. And I know all. When I say all, I mean nothing. Okay, bye. Yes, and broadcast.